What's going on, everybody? How we doing? This is Dennis Smith of the Alternate Timeline. Thank you for tuning in today. And I got another Marvel video for you guys today, and I wanted to stress the importance of MCU titles. So before I really get into it, if you guys could do me a favor, super smash that like button, subscribe to the channel for more videos like this. I would love you guys forever if you guys did that, as I try to continue to make content for you guys to enjoy. But enough of that, let's get into it. So I wanted to stress the importance of titles going forward in the MCU, and I wanted to start with the movie that they're making probably in phase 6, which is Armor Wars. So I'm aware that Rhodey is the lead and the primary guy of this film, but I'm actually a big fan of the title not being named after one person. I think the MCU could actually benefit and make more projects with titles that aren't centered around one person, which I believe would allow them to do more and not feel so obligated to maybe push a certain character or limit other characters that are involved in that project. And a movie like Armor Wars can tell whatever story it wants to tell. The writers aren't strapped into having to give Rhodey this crazy focus and maybe forcing his development, but instead can tell, the war for Stark Tech, which is what we think is going to happen in this movie, is the war for Stark Tech. Or if the rumors are true out there about this movie maybe being a West Coast Avenger type film, they could tell that story from Rhodey's point of view. So spending time with a character in that way, to me, feels more natural, and I'm a big fan of that. So for example, the recent movie Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania, at times in that movie, it felt like they were kind of stuck trying to give us this serious villain origin story, but also trying to develop this Ant-Man family tossed in with all the comedic Ant-Man movie tones. And sometimes the two, for me, just didn't mesh all that well.
Hello. Oh, hi. Hi. Did you drink the ooze?
Why can I understand you?
Oh, great. That's the ooze. Hey, everybody, it worked. Ooze worked.
I often wonder with a movie like that, what it would be like if it was just called Quantumania by itself and not Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania. A movie called Quantumania that still featured the Ant family, but the sole focus of the movie was just the Kang origin and that tone, without feeling perhaps obligated to push out some of these smaller Ant family arcs for every member that maybe didn't hit with everybody. And it's not that I don't want them to be a focus, but when you make it so it has to be a thing during a movie where you're trying to tell this serious villain origin, I think that's when you back yourself into a corner. So basically what I'm saying is that if a title is simply switched from a character to, a thing or an event, it allows for the writing to have a bit more freedom and can focus on what it wants to focus on. You also avoid people criticizing things like the Wasp being a part of the title but not really getting enough love within the film. So you avoid small criticisms like that. So this is sort of where I want to pivot. I think this is why there's excitement around a project like Secret Invasion. It's named after an event. Fury is the main character, but I think it will just focus on the event and what's happening and not feel like it needs to deep dive into Fury. But we spend time with him naturally through this event, and that's what potentially excites me the most about this show. I personally think characters are done very well when they aren't forced onto the creators, if that makes sense. I think that's another small reason why the Avengers movies have done well, because it's not just one character that the movie must focus on. And I think that's why people mess with a movie like Infinity War so heavy, because they do this extremely well. And it even gives focus to, the villain of the story. And throughout that whole movie, it's essentially the villain's movie, which I really believe they need to do more of. And I stress this all the time on this channel, almost in every video, is that more of these movies need to be the villain movies that just feature the hero. I think just look at the excitement for a movie like Kang Dynasty, where we're all rooting for Kang. Even in Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania, like, a lot of people wanted to see Kang so much, and we were just happy to see him on screen doing his thing. But even for a show like I was just talking about in Secret Invasion, like, we're going to see Skrulls act up. Like, we're going to see their motivations. So to me, there's opportunity in that style of movies or projects going forward, but that's just me. So the last thing I actually wanted to say, which is the reason why I made this video, is an idea that I'm absolutely absolutely stealing from a good friend of the show, Snowden. So shout out to Snowden. Sorry for taking your idea, but I'm giving you full credit on this idea. And definitely go follow the homie on his YouTube channel, Mr. Snowden's Neighborhood, and IG Music by Snowden. I'll have him in the description below. Recently, he's been holding a tournament style bracket versus type thing on his IG. Go check that out, have fun. It's great conversation. And overall, he's a very knowledgeable guy that has the spiciest of spicy hot takes I think that I've ever seen. So, but he makes it make sense. But ever since he said this, it's been kind of on my mind, and it's the reason behind this video. So remember when we were getting this saga announced to us and they announced Echo as part of Phase 5? They gave us a quick synopsis on what the show would entail, following this character Echo, whom I think a lot of people really enjoy, really like, and I think Aliqua Cox does a dope Echo, so I'm definitely looking forward to seeing more of her in the future. But when they explained the show, they mentioned Daredevil and Kingpin being part of it. We've also heard rumors out there, maybe someone like a Jessica Jones showing up, or other Marvel Netflix characters. Who knows? We don't know that yet, but there's definitely opportunity for more people to show up in the series. So now, if you're Marvel Studios, you should know, and you probably do, that you're already going to get that weird group of people that like to proudly announce to everybody that they're only watching this show because of Daredevil and Kingpin. Like, we know that discourse is coming. We know it's on the way. But as far as creating and writing the show, it will focus on Echo and her journey and connection with Kingpin, her development, which there's nothing wrong with that at all. But I do believe that it could make it tough, on the creators of this show to have these beloved characters in this show, but the focus and what you're pushing is a character not so popular to fans. That's a tough position to be in as a creator. I just wonder if having to focus on Echo as the main character behind the title maybe limits what they can do or might want to do with not only just her, but Daredevil and Kingpin as a whole, since the show isn't necessarily about them. So when this show was announced, the homie Snowden basically said something along the lines of, I don't know why you wouldn't just call this show Hell's Kitchen. And that's been stuck with me ever since, because I think it's kind of a brilliant idea if you think about it. And that's why I wanted to stress the importance of these titles in the MCU. Like, imagine if it was actually called Hell's Kitchen and it featured characters from that area. How much more excitement would there be around this project? Like, we know Echo isn't at the top of everybody's most anticipated projects coming out, although I am very excited for it, and hearing, that there might be mystical elements involved in this show, I'm excited for it. Plus, I feel like shows that don't seem to be as popular as others, Marvel goes the hardest on those. For example, Loki, nobody thought that show would be that show. Nobody thought that show would bang the way it did, but it's so many people's favorite show from what they've done so far. But back to my Echo point, I think that you really capture fans if it's the same elements and characters, but instead it's just called Hell's Kitchen. I think the story that the creators are able to tell with a title like that becomes a little different as well, and it opens up the possibilities and the freedom to show what they want to show in Hell's Kitchen. And the more that I think about it, the more it feels like such a excellent no-brainer that I'm almost wondering like why this is not the case. Maybe it's not as much as an Echo-centered story, but more so a story centered around all these characters within this area, but you totally avoid the whole crowd of, the Echo was only good because Daredevil and Kingpin were a part of it. So, you avoid that whole crowd. But I think the interest level goes up a couple of notches with a title like Hell's Kitchen as opposed to Echo, and you can still make Echo a focal point of the show, and maybe writing it like that would come off as more natural for a character like Echo. So personally, in the future, it would be cool to get more projects that aren't named after a character, but named after a thing or an event or an area or an item or whatever it may be, which could allow a story to flow naturally and go in whatever direction they choose. So yeah, of course, this is all just my opinion and what I would like to see more of going forward, and what I think the importance of these MCU titles are and what they could do for not only the fandom, but the creatives that are in these rooms. Yeah, that's all I got for you guys today in this video. Thank you for tuning in. I hope you guys have a wonderful, wonderful week ahead of you, and leave a comment down in the comment section below. Let me know your thoughts and what you guys think are some creative MCU titles for possible future projects going forward. So yeah, let me know what you guys come up with. Make sure you super smash that like button for me and subscribe to the channel for more videos like this. And I will see you guys in the next video. Peace.